that when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were running against each other, I said that this is not about Hillary and this is not about Donald Trump. This is a fight for the soul of our democracy. And that statement is truer now than it was then. Today, I think, was a very important day. I tell my staff that 200 years from now, people will be reading about this moment. And so I will say to you, the press, get it right. We have a situation where we have strayed so far away from normal in our country. And we've got to get back to center. And I think today was at least an opportunity to do that. A lot of people, we got a lot of criticism, as you could hear, about Michael Cohen coming before our committee. But just think about what we're dealing with. We have Rosenstein, who said that it's quite possible that the American people will never see the report or just about anything that comes out of Mueller's investigation. And I think that the American people in the last election were crying out. Even the people who love the president, even the ones who believe he's doing a great job, said that we want accountability. We want accountability. And I think, and therefore they elected Democrats in some districts that were Trump districts. Quite a few of them. And so today, as I said earlier, you know, what has happened over the last 2 years is that there has not been any accountability. None. Couldn't get a subpoena, couldn't get a hearing, couldn't get witnesses, and all we were trying to do was do our job. The Constitution is abundantly clear. It says to us, every 2 years we raise our hand and we say that we swear to uphold the Constitution. And part of that Constitution says that we have to be a check and balance on the executive branch. That's what this was all about. Mr. Cohen coming in and bringing corroborating evidence. I think the checks are very, very significant. He talks about the man he knows, and basically what he did was to reintroduce the American people to the man that he's known for 10 years. The Republicans didn't want to hear any of that. And that's all well and good, but that's not going to get us to where we need to get to as a nation. The question becomes, you know, where do we go from here? Well, we're going to study our testimony and figure out what we got there.
What he's saying suggests
we've
that
got
he
transcribed
believes
interviews
that
of some
the
people that
Democrats
we're going to be looking at.
are accountable.
We have
and
not
they're not.
gotten the kind of cooperation that I would want from White House counsel with
Let
regard
them
to
get
documents
caught up in
that
the
we
same
need.
thing. We hold them all to the
But
same
again, we're going to follow
standards.
up on this testimony. And if you ask me exactly where we're
Who
going,
am I hammering here in L.A.?
We're going,
Exactly.
but we will do things in a very
Supposedly the
responsible
most
way.
democratic, most
very
left-wing,
careful
most
way.
progressive,
Because the thing
most
is really
socialist
that
fuckers around except for
I
San
emphasize
Francisco.
to the members of our committee is that we must be a committee with integrity. I want to be effective and efficient in everything we do. And in order to be effective and efficient, one of the things you got to do is you got to reclaim civility. That's one of the things that I was trying to do in there. Two, we've got to make sure that we get information. When we have an uncooperative executive branch, basically who does not want us to get information, and then they tell all of you all, by the way, they want to suppress you all. I mean, how do you even make a government accountable. So we're gonna, again, I appreciate Mr. Cohen coming in. I thought he brought a lot to the table. He described the Donald Trump that he knows, and we'll see where we go from there.
What's the most important thing you learned today, sir? Congressman, what's the most important thing you learned today?
I believe that, I believe he told the truth. I've been practicing law. First of all, as I said in there, I practiced law for many years. And one of the things that I did, I represented a lot of lawyers who got in trouble. And I'm used to watching witnesses. I think that he, first of all, I think he's very, a light bulb went off in his head, I guess. And he said, you know what, I'm going the wrong way. And I want to change things. I want to reverse things. And I think he's remorseful. And a lot of people said, oh, the reason why he's coming in is because he just wants to get his sentence reduced. I think that's not likely. But the fact is, I don't want you to miss this. And he agreed with me, because I told him, if you come in here and you lie, and these were my exact words, I will nail you to the cross. And I meant that. Because we can't keep going on to lie and lie and lie. We'll never get to any kind of sense of normalcy. But to answer your question, yeah, I believe him.
Mr. Chairman,
Talk to Alan Weisselberg, Donald Trump Jr., in order to investigate the hush money payments, Weisselberg, Donald Trump Jr. Do you need to talk to them?
We probably will. But and that's a very good question. There are certain areas we've got to be careful with because special counsel, in Southern District of New York, and others have basically said that there are things that they are looking into. There are a number of areas that we couldn't even get into and didn't get into that they're looking into. This is, I think that there are still a number of shoes to drop. I think there's more. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you that we work very closely with special counsel to try to make sure that we did not interfere with the investigation. One more time. One more thing. Wait a minute. I have a bad cold.
No problem. Do you believe...
I want to be clear, and I don't know whether you missed this. I said that I would rather have no hearing than to have a hearing that interfered with Mueller. I'd rather not have it. Because I think Mueller is doing very, very important work. But the press, come on, guys and ladies. One of the things we got to get back to, we still have a situation where folks are messing with our elections. And we've done very little about it. I mean, this was an attack on our system of government, our democracy. I mean, this is serious. And so, there's a lot that's going to come out of this. There are things that other committees will learn from this. I just talked to Adam Schiff a few minutes ago, just before I came over here. And there are a number of things that he's going to be able to use from our hearing, for his hearing. But we've got about 5 committees that are looking at different aspects of the Trump administration. But again, and don't get it twisted. We are doing, I've said it from the very beginning, that we're going down 2 paths in this committee. One, we're going to make sure we address those issues that confront the American people on a day-to-day basis, such as the census and such as voting rights and prescription drugs and the Affordable Care Act. But on the other hand, we're also going to paint a picture of what is happening to our democracy.
Mr. Chairman, based on what you've heard, do you believe that the president committed a crime while in office?
Based on what? Looking at the checks and listening to Mr. Cohen, it appears that he did. I mean, again, that's not for me to say. I'm basing that on what has already been filed. Here, they filed, Mr. Cohen is pleading to charges where he said he was directed to commit a crime by the president. I mean, and so, again, I think we're going to have to see what Mueller says. One of the things that I did, and I want to be clear on this, a lot of you all have been asking me to do interviews And I literally turned down at least probably 150 interviews over the last few months. Once we knew Cohen was coming. You know why? Because the thing I did not want to do was just assume what he was going to say. I wanted him to come in, say what he had to say, and then try to tell you what we found out. Because I refuse to be a hypocrite. When my Republican colleagues, when they were in control, what they would do is they would go out, make a headline, big headline, and then try to have a hearing to get the facts to catch up with the headline. And usually the facts weren't there. And so I wanted to make sure I was very careful. So now you all can start asking me for interviews again.
You said he made a crime.
I'm saying...
Were there any impeachable offenses in your...
You got to understand, I've been sitting there for 9 hours, 8 hours, whatever it's been. I need to study the transcripts, see what we have. Keep in mind, I want to proceed very cautiously. But isn't it interesting that not one person on our side even mentioned the word impeachment? Not one. Not one. They did, but not us. Again, I'm hoping that this
Dean, can you go in the other room while I'm recording this?
This is not the end of the process, but the beginning.
We got your message that you were going with your
This was your first really big hearing.
Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
When and how do you think the two parties behaved today, given the state?
I felt that, when you get to be my age, I probably would judge it in a different way than a younger person. But I've been on this committee 22 years, so I've seen a lot. I've practiced law. I've seen some of the worst people do some of the worst things in the world. I've seen lawyers disbarred. I've seen all kinds of stuff. And I see it as a part of our history. So the fact that people were arguing back and forth, it was not as bad as I thought it would be. It really did. I thought it would be more dilatory tactics, but it didn't work out that way.
Where do you rate this hearing compared to all the other ones the oversight committee's had through the years?
Oh, I think this one has to be, this and the Toyota hearing, number 1 and 2. Number 1 and 2. Remember Toyota? Yeah, that was big. Thank you, guys.
What do you want the president to know about today's proceeding?
What I want the president to know, I want you to clip my closing argument. All right? That's what I want. I want the president to be reminded of what I said to him in the Oval Office 2 years ago. I said to him, Mr. President, you can be the greatest president in the world. If you went out there and not just represented and did good things for 35 or 40% of the people, but for all the people. Of course, he went out and said he was going to be the greatest president in the world. Maybe he couldn't cut out the F, but that's what I want. You know why? When I spent time in the hospital 6 months, you get a chance to think about your life and your death. And try to figure out what it is that you want the most. And I think most of us, we want to know that our children are going to be okay. We want to know that they're going to experience a democracy, that they're going to have an opportunity, and they're going to have the better opportunities than I had. And that's what I want him, when he goes out there and he does things, I want him to think about children. I want him to think about the children that he separated from their parents. I want him to think about the fact that we had children in cages. I want him to think about the education of children. I mean, in other words, the things that but more important than all of that, I want him to think about the democracy, a true democracy.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you just heard Elija Cummins there emphatically defend what the oversight